Okay, it being 5 p.m., the Lafourche Parish Council meeting of July 13th, 2021 is hereby called to order. Ms. Carlene, can you please conduct roll call?
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Adams. Present. Mr. Groh is absent. Mr. Melvin. Here. Mr. Wendell. Here. Mr. Arabi. Here. Chairman Oten.
Here.
Mrs. Chesson. Here. Mr. Lorraine.
Here.
President Chesson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Carlene. If everyone would please rise, we'll be led in invocation by Councilman Melvin, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Arabi.
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm sorry, I should have said Terry. In case there's some other Arabis in this audience. I'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting tonight. Remind you, if you wanted to speak on a specific agenda item or address the council, please fill out a blue form at the by the front door, and you can get up to the council clerk. We'll be sure to recognize you. I'll also remind everyone that in ordinances, I will ask for public comment, so you can also do it during public comment period of each individual ordinance. And then resolutions, however, will only be by discussion of the council. With that said, we'll jump right into our meeting tonight. Item A, approval of minutes. Number one, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the June 22nd, 2021 regular session. Moved by Mr. Wendell, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absence. That absent being Councilman Groh. Item B, we have none. Item C, do we have any state and or federal legislative updates? Any legislators in the audience? None. Item D, presentations and or updates. Number 2, Parish President to recognize Lafourche Parish Government Employee of the Month and or WOW employees for the month of June. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're going to have both of these tonight, which is a good thing. As you guys will remember, a few months ago, we lost an employee at the Galliana field office. Mr. Edward Thibodeau, as a lot of you know him as Babu. In the afternoon that it happened, it was just as the guys were knocking off. And we had 3 employees who stepped up to try to perform some life-saving measures for their friend and their colleague. And we have no, and I know we talk about this with the family, but you guys did a lot. And I know we couldn't save him, but you guys busted your butts. And for the family and to us, I know it means a lot. So, Mr. Chairman, we'd like to recognize Mr. Kelvin Cooper, Mr. Robert Rock Thibodeau, and Donovan Terrebonne for their efforts that afternoon in trying to do everything they could for their friend. No, I don't.
You have 3 minutes.
So our WOW employees this month, Mr. Chairman, are the women of the health unit, the nurses and the managers during the whole COVID crisis, when we were trying to set up testing, trying to work through vaccinations and test sites and all the other fun stuff. These ladies really stepped up, working extra hours, doing things that we have never thought we'd ever have to do before the health unit. So we wanted to recognize all of them. I don't think all of them are here, but if you want to come grab the certificates, as we call them, Miss Lindsay Pellegrin, Miss Celeste Rebstock, Miss Angel Vizier. I'm a Lockport guy. We don't say that too often. Laquanda Andrew. Miss Casey Goday. Miss Michelle Bourne. And Miss Pearl Bason.
Congratulations to all recipients. We appreciate all y'all efforts to the citizens of our parish. Item E, legal advisor report. I think we have none. Item F, any engineers and or architects in the audience want to give a report? All right.
John Plazons with GIS Engineering, 16878 West Main Street in Cutoff. We're under construction for y'all right now. We have the West 55th Street drainage project. It's about halfway through. The contractor's been very slowed by the rain, of course, but today he got a lot done. So hopefully we'll have more days like that. If we can get some good weather, I think he'll be finished next week.
Excellent. Anyone have any questions? Nope. Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank y'all.
it. Any other engineers, architects? Last call. All right. Item G, public wishing to address the council public hearings, agenda items, et cetera. Ms. Carlene.
Mr. Billy Joe Brunet, if you'd come to the podium, Mr. Brunet, state your name and address for the record. Please remember you have 3 minutes.
First time addressing the council. My name's Billy Joe Brunet, 115 Eva Lane, Golden Meadow, Louisiana. Proud resident of the 10th Ward. I'm just here to really complain, like most of us in the 10th Ward, about why we can't keep the Carte Blanche Bridge working. You know, I mean, before it was, I mean, it's in pretty good shape, but the constant breaking down in the last 6 months, I think Charlotte was there 12 years, and I don't think it broke down that much in 12 years. So I'm just asking, you know, I mean, look, I supported the administrator, Archie, I voted for you the second go-round. You know, the first go-round, Joe asked me, but second go-round, I did dug heads up, I was behind you. So show us a little love down the bayou, and maybe, hey, maybe another contractor, you know, hey, we got some good, look, not me, but you got Allied, you got Superior, you got Wayne Grabert, got a lot of good guys that guarantee their work. And I know me personally, I'm just about an owl, but I couldn't have worked for Gerard Thomas here, Mr. Martin, if I couldn't fix a winch and keep it going. You know, I mean, whatever the problem, and look, you got some great workers. You got, I mean, I talked about, sorry. You got some good guys over here, but I'm talking contractors, you know, people you take your stuff out to. You wouldn't let every doctor cut on you. You wouldn't let everybody weld for you or everybody cut your hair. But can we find some competent people to keep the bridge open? Simple. That's it.
Got it. Dylan, you want to make any comments?
Yes, sir. I just want you to know, we are getting a price to replace the winch on that bridge. That winch was built, I want to say, in the late 40s, and everything there's no replacement parts, no model code, serial number. Anytime we get something for that, it's down for probably a week because we have to get it machined and special made. So the parts did come in yesterday. The winch was put back together today and put back in the bridge this afternoon. It should be operational tomorrow or the following day.
So you think you can promise me, you see what I'm saying is, if my car keeps breaking and I keep bringing it to the same mechanic, I might bring it to another mechanic. You know, and I know the winch is old, but I've worked, I'm talking today as a resident of the 10th Ward, but I mean, I worked on a lot of old stuff and we kept it rolling. And look, I know this council got way more money than any shrimper down the bayou. And we kept them winches going. And we can't nickel and dime this stuff. I'm just suggesting. It looks to us in the 10th Ward that we nickel and dime. We're fixing this, but we're not fixing that. If I take something apart, I'm going to look at it and say, hey, that's why I'm about an hour. Look, we got this wrong, but you got that wrong. So I'm just suggesting.
I completely understand.
There's comparable people in the 10th Ward, Allied Shipyard, Superior Shipyard, Wayne Graubert's Machine Shop. That's done work in the past with other administrations. That's done work, that's done professional work and got it done. So that's it. That's my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bruno. Appreciate that.
Mr. Wayne Ogeron, if you come to the podium, sir, state your name and address for the record. Mr. Ogeron, please remember you have 3 minutes.
Wayne Ogeron, 4210 West Avenue C cutoff. My question should be real simple there. I'm just trying to find out where parish maintenance ends on a street. It seems like every time we got another grass cutter, it's further and further up the street. And the other day I saw him stop about 150 feet away from where the water drains. Now, water is more stupid than me, if you want to believe that. It doesn't know that it has to stop if the parish maintenance stops here. It needs to continue going on. So I don't know if there's a map anywhere that says where parish maintenance stops on certain streets or all the streets or what exactly, because I've seen it move about 5 times since I've lived over the 40 years on my street. At one time there were signs, but that was taken off years ago, I guess hurricanes or whatever. So I'm just trying to find out if there's anything on a map maybe, or if there's a definite definition of when parish maintenance stops on public streets.
Yep. Mr. Dillon, you want to address that?
Yes, sir. There's a parish maintenance street list that we operate off of. There's a street name with a length on it. I can get you a copy of that. If you tell me which street it is, I can find that info out for you. I don't know it offhand, but I can get it fairly easily. Some streets also do have drainage and maintenance servitudes at the rear of them, so we can continue cutting past the street maintenance and all the way to the outfall canal.
So if you have a servitude to go to like a pasture, you can't continue to keep that?
Yes, sir, we can, as long as we have a right of way.
It's been done in about maybe 4 or 3 years right now. I mean, the street that I live on, both sides drain to the back, and the south side crosses over and goes to one canal that goes to the servitude canal in the back, the pasture. And that pasture is pretty well kept up over there where the drainage canal's at. There's no water lilies in there or anything, but the canal that connects both streets together to go to the back, you can put a duck blind in there right now. I mean, if that would get, and then again, not digging is not the answer on that because it's really deep right now. It's a real blockage before the water can catch up. So that was my question, where the maintenance stopped and start.
Yeah, sure. After this, if you want to meet me on the side, I'll get your name, info, and the street you live on, and I'll get those answers for you.
Also, the street was partly done years ago when we first had the first round of road tax 2 pavements or blacktop and whatever. And then it got stopped for a certain reason at one length. And if the street goes, well, back in the 60s or 70s, the street was dedicated. It was a Paul Dufresne subdivision, and it was dedicated to the parish at one time. But it doesn't look like it was maintained all the way to the back. So if we can get, let's see, looking about another 100 feet or so to be complete on the street, That would be good, because where they stopped at, about 50 foot away from my property, and I got 150 foot, no, I got 300 foot wide. It's breaking up real bad right there, and even shells would help out there. So, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Woodrow.
Thank
Yeah, if
you.
you just step on the side, you can get your information to, Dylan.
Mr. Gus Rhodes, if you'd come to the podium, Mr. Rhodes, state your name and address for the record. Please remember you have 3 minutes.
My name is Gus Rhodes. I live at 242 Southern Circle, Magnolia subdivision. I understand y'all trying to get the right-of-way to dig a ditch past the back end of the subdivision of the street of Tablet. And I understand the man that owned that property doesn't want to give y'all the right-of-way. Now, this subdivision keeps flooding just about every time we have a major rain. And there's one house in the subdivision that the last 2 times that it rained hard had water in their garage. Now me, I'm a little further away from having water in my house, but I want to know what's the plan if this man does not give y'all the right of way? What y'all gonna do?
Dylan, is another one you want to answer? I know we talk about this one it seems like every meeting for the last few years.
Yeah, I'll apologize, and I missed the location at first. Did you say Magnolia Landing? Okay, yeah, so, Lafourche Levy District is working to get the right-of-way from that gentleman, and they are working towards a solution right now. So as they have it, we do not unfortunately have a plan. If he doesn't give the right-of-way, there's just nowhere for the water to go. That's one of our only solutions. So we're really hoping that they can work it out. It does seem to be working in everybody's favor right now. They have come to an agreement. We're just waiting to see it through.
Well, that's not what the man's telling me. He's not giving y'all the right of way till certain work is done by his house. And that it has to be done before he even give y'all the right of way. So that's not looking too good to me.
And that's an agreement he has with Lafourche Levy District. I spoke to them 2 weeks ago, and they seemed excited about it, so.
And I'll look at it, why don't y'all build a levee around the subdivision and put us a pump and pump the water out, keep the water out of our subdivision? Because y'all got the subdivision that's just been across Waverly Road. All that water's draining towards the Waverly Road ditch. And there's more water than the ditch can handle. And then it can't go nowhere because there's nowhere for it to go. There's 114 houses in that subdivision. And you get 114 houses, they get flooded. It's gonna cost the residents a lot of money. And like I said, just build us a levee around there and put us a pump that would keep us dry. I know right now it's raining and it'd be hard to do, but that's all I'm asking anyhow. I'm asking for the residents of the community.
So I've been there multiple times. And I know it's not just you that floods, it's everybody that floods. So building a levee around you and pumping it out, then everybody else is gonna flood. So everybody's flooding right now.
Well, I understand
That's not
that.
gonna help, the water's gonna have to come back, go somewhere. So what it is now, we just need a way, to get the water all the way down. I've looked at all the plans and everything, and I'm waiting, I'll back from him from the Lafourche Levy District, because I've been on it too, I'm looking at it. We gotta get the right of way from this guy, and that's gonna fix all the issues, everybody up, because you're not the only ones flooding. The trailer park's flooding, the houses 4 or 5 streets forward is flooding, because y'all getting all that water, and once it gets to y'all, it has nowhere to go. So you get it, and then it backs back up.
Yeah.
So everybody's flooding. So yeah, we have to get the right of way from the guy to get it done. And Lafourche Levy District is working on
But
it.
what's gonna happen if he don't give y'all that right away?
Have to come up with another engineering solution. But a levee's not gonna help you around your subdivision, I promise you.
Yes, a levee all the way around would help if we had a pump to pump it out.
But then you're gonna pump it out, but then it has nowhere to go. It's gonna
And you
come
got-
right back in.
In the right of ways.
I won't have it in my yard.
I'm just saying it's not gonna work.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
have a good
Appreciate
day.
it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Rose.
That's my last.
Mr. Jones, go ahead.
Yes, I have that same problem. I'm next to you, Mr.
Rose.
Mr. Rose. the council on Waverly Road, and we've been fighting this forever and ever. Had in the budget, the last administration, to put a pump on the Leal, not Leal, but toward Leal on the road. I'm trying to think of the name of the road back there. It's right away. No, it's not Talbot. It's across, it's into Bruley. And to put a pump. No, that's the one in the Bruley. You have to take the Bruley Road to get to it.
Yeah,
We
I
get
know
there
what you're
and we do some right-of-way cleaning in the back. So maybe that can help. Another thing is that on the Bruley Road, back in the days, we had a trap covered. Maybe we can see about opening that and flush that water toward the cane field. Anything at this point to help the residents, because I know they flood, so. But I've been working with the administration, the parish president and public works director. We was out there last week. We visited a couple residents and we're working on it. Definitely we is. So I just want to let you know that.
Well, it's 7 years I'm living there now, almost 8. And I've been here 4 or 5 times, and nothing's really happening. Like right now, they're cleaning out the ditch, but the water has nowhere else to go, even when they clean out the ditch, like they're doing. They got one big machine to dig out the grass. They got one dump truck. He hauls that dirt somewhere else. They got to wait for him to come back so they can put more dirt in the truck. He's doing half the work he could do in a day if he had 2 trucks.
Yeah, and you're right, and I'm pretty sure that 40-foot machine is gonna be there either this week or next week, if I'm not mistaken, to sweep out and clean out the Waverly ditch, canal.
Well, they're digging it out right now. Mm-hmm. There's a machine there. They're cleaning out the ditch, but like I said, the water still has nowhere to go. Even with the ditch clean and the grass cut on it. It needs somewhere else to go. And if we had a levee around that subdivision with a pump to pump it out, yes, it has somewhere else to go. It's going to be with the other water that's coming from the other 2 subdivisions and from the highway over there back down to us.
But if you pump the water out of your subdivision, then you're gonna flood my subdivision.
Well, your subdivision been raised. They raised they dug pits to raise your subdivision up. So you'd still not gonna flood your subdivision if you take the water out of mine. It's not that much water in mine compared to what's coming from your subdivisions. I'm not
pretty
trying
sure
to
I'm back on Waverly on the back side. We get a lot of water there. And I know it got the mayor of Waverly Road, definitely, I know he's watching, he won't allow that. So I don't think that'll work.
You don't think it would work? I think it would work for me. It would become somebody else's problem.
Yeah.
You don't solve mine.
Right-of-ways are always a big problem, and so you mentioned that it's difficult to get this right-of-way, but then you're talking about building a levee all the way around, so that requires right-of-ways from everybody, many different landowners. I can tell you, from Lockport to Rouse, Hurricane Juan happened in 1985, and we just finished getting the right-of-ways since 1985 to do the work that flooded hundreds of homes, like 2 foot of water in homes. So right-of-ways are very difficult, and projects hinge on those right-of-ways.
Well, there is a 10-foot right-of-way all around that subdivision right now.
We need about 100-foot right-of-way. If you're gonna build a levee, you're gonna need a big wide.
Yeah, but you don't have to build a levee but about 2 foot, 3 foot high.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about a monster levee.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a 2 foot levee.
yeah. They need at least 30 by 30 or 40 foot just to work. Yep. Okay, well, we appreciate the info, Mr. Rose, and North Lafourche Levy District would also be a good meeting for you to attend and engage the North Lafourche Levy District, certainly.
Yeah, I'm not here to sort of fight.
Yeah, we know. we know you're not, Mr. Rose.
Chair, just a tip for you, Mr. Rose. If you're going to the North Lafourche Levy District, they got the power to expropriate property.
Well, when does the North Lafourche levy district, meet?
Next Tuesday.
Tuesday,
Next Tuesday in
Race-
that room?
in Raceland,
Race.
Oh, in Raceland?
between the two red lights.
What time?
5.
5 o'clock on next Tuesday? Next Tuesday, 5 o'clock. Okay, I'll be there. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Rose.
That's my last one.
All right, very good. Thank you, Ms. Carleen.
What's that address doing? Ain't the red light?
Right next to the funeral home.
The old community bank.
You know, the old Moultonburg used to be, the old Rouse, right past that.
Moltenberg.
That's the old community bank.
Frost out, my bad, Frost out. Yeah, it used to be the old bank. And it's got a funeral home and the old
Wasn't
Frost
it
out.
community bank at one time or
It's on
no?
the left side. Yeah, you go back and Kimberly, go that way, just look, after you pass the red light.
Okay, item H, public hearing and ordinances for ratification. I'll entertain a motion to open a public hearing. So by Mr. Wendell, second by Mr. Adams. All in favor signify by saying aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Mr. Grow. Number 3, ordinance to install drive slow children at play and dead end signs on Victoria Court, Thibodaux, Louisiana, Ward 2, District 4, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, installing the necessary drive slow children at play and dead end signs to be placed between 305 and 307 Victoria Court. So moved by Mr. Melvin. I got a second by Mr. Araby. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 3's ordinance? 1 time, 2 time, last call for public. Would anyone from the council like to discuss this item? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Mr. Grow. Item 4, ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-017 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget to cover costs for demolitions through year end in the amount of $75,000 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Would anyone from the public like to comment on items 4's ordinance? 1 time, 2 time, 3 times. Anyone from the council? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Mr. Grow. Item 5, ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-018 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget, increasing the budget for the Scenic Byway Overlook Project 07022 in the amount of $123,646.73 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. So moved by Mr. Terry Araby for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Wendell. Anyone from the public would like to comment on item 5's ordinance? 1 time, 2 time. Last call for public on item 5. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Mr. Grow. Item 6, ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-019 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget for a Head Start Grant Award, de-obligate Project 21009, vehicle purchase and increased salaries and benefits, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided for by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration. Can I get a second by Mr. Araby? Anyone from the public like to comment on item 6? 1 time, 2 time, last call for public. Item 6, anyone from the council would like to discuss? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Mr. Grow. Item 7, an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-36, precinct polling places of Lafourche Parish Code of Ordinances, correcting the polling location name as follows: Ward 4-Precinct 6 and Ward 9, Precincts 2, to North LaRose Elementary School, and to further establish the effective date of same, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Ms. Chesson, can you move on behalf of the administration? And Mr. Araby seconds that. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 7? Second call for public. Third call for anyone from the public. Anyone from the council? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Mr. Grow. Item 8, ordinance amending a lease agreement between the Lafourche Parish School Board and the Parish of Lafourche for leasing the premises located at 175 Richardale Drive, Rouse, Louisiana, 70373, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Ms. Chesson will move on behalf of the administration, second by Mr. Araby. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 8? One time, two time, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Mr. Grow. Item 9, ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-36, precinct polling places of the Lafourche Parish Code of Ordinances, correcting the polling location address as follows. Ward 6, Precinct 4 to 2854 Choctaw Road, Thibodaux, Louisiana, 70301, and to further establish effective date of same and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Anyone from the public like to comment on item 9? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Mr. Grow. Item 10, ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-36, precinct polling places of the Lafourche Parish Code of Ordinances, correcting the polling location address as follows. Ward 10, Precinct 14 and Ward 10, Precinct 15 to 177 West 55th Street, Cutoff, Louisiana, 70345, and to further establish effective date of same and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moving Ms. Chesson for the administration, second by Mr. Araby. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 10? One time, two time, last call for public. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Mr. Grow. Item 11, ordinance amending a lease agreement between Lafourche Parish School Board and the Parish of Lafourche for leasing the premises located at 177 West 55th Street, Cutoff, Louisiana, 70345, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration, second by Mr. Araby. Anyone from the public like to comment on item 11? One time, two time, last call for public. Anyone from the council? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 12, ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 2, Section 2-36, precinct polling places of the Lafourche Parish Code of Ordinances, correcting the polling location name as follows. Ward 10, Precinct 16 to La Rose Cutoff Middle School, and to further establish the effective date of same, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration, second by Mr. Araby. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 12? One time, two time, last call for public. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 13, ordinance amending a lease agreement between Lafourche Parish School Board and the Parish of Lafourche for leasing the premises located at 13356 West Main Street, La Rose, Louisiana, 70373, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Chesson for the administration, second by Mr. Araby. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 13? One time, two time, last call for public. Anyone from the council? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone objecting? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 14, ordinance amending ordinance number 6506 that levied and imposed taxes for 2021 on all the property subject to taxation in the Parish of Lafourche Fire Protection District number 9 due to receipt of updated numbers. Moved by Councilman Araby for the administration, second by Councilwoman Chesson. Anyone from the public like to comment on item 14? One time, two time, last call for public on item 14. Anyone from the council? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 15, ordinance amending ordinance number 6504, levying and imposing taxes for 2021 on all the property subject to taxation in the Parish of Lafourche Fire Protection District number 1. Rolling forward, Councilman Araby for the administration, second by Councilwoman Wendell. Anyone from the public like to comment on item 15? One time, two time, last call for public on item 15. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. I'll now entertain a motion to close public hearing. So moved by Mr. Wendell, second by Mr. Adams. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item I, proposed ordinances. Mr. Wendell, you have the floor, sir.
Item number 16, proposed ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-020 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget to revise the library's budget and increase funding in the animal shelter, Head Start, and streetlight budgets, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter by Mr. Jones on behalf of administration. Item number 17, proposed ordinance approving a servitude agreement between Jennifer Sheremy Ordorn and the Lafourche Parish government in the cutoff area and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relative documents by Mr. Lorraine on behalf of administration. Item number 18, proposed ordinance providing a variance from Lafourche Parish Subdivision Regulations, Chapter 22, Article 6, Division 3, Roads, Section 22-408F, from having to install 3 cross streets in the McCarr Holdings LLC subdivision as recommended by the Lafourche Parish Planning Commission at their May 27, 2021 meeting by Mr. Ote on behalf of administration. Item number 19, proposed ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-021 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget to cover the cost of recreation projects and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter by Mr. Melvin on behalf of administration. Item number 20, proposed ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-023 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget for the coronavirus state and local physical recovery funds signed under the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter by Mr. Jones on behalf of administration. Item number 21, proposed ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-022 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget to cover the cost of parish-wide portable pump and a transfer switch to be installed at Thibodeau High School for use of a generator, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter by Mr. Jones on behalf of administration. Item number 22, proposed ordinance providing for a 2021 supplemental appropriation 21-024 within the 2021 operations and maintenance budget and capital outlay budget to de-obligate project 21-013 and to create a new project 21-041 for security cameras, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transactions as provided by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter by Mr. Jones on behalf of administration.
Pretty good, Mr. Wendell. Thank you very much. Item G, resolutions. Number 23, resolution accepting the quote of Tiger Demolition Incorporated in the amount of $3,450 for contractor services related to the demolition of condemned structures located at 225 East Barra Street, Lockport, Louisiana, 70374, assessment number 009264530, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said contract and any and all relevant documents. Ms. Chesson will move on behalf of the administration, second by Mr. Araby. Anyone like to discuss this item? All in favor signify by saying aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grove. And I thank y'all. The church is going to be quite happy. Item 24, resolution approving amendment number 4 to the agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Baraka and Bernura Engineers and Consultants, LLC, extending the contract time and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Melvin will move on Mr. Grove's behalf of the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Adams. Anyone like to discuss this item? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grove. Item 25, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Duplantis Design Group, PC, to provide engineering services for specifications for the maintenance and repair of streetlights throughout the parish, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Melvin for the administration, second by Councilman Araby. Anyone like to discuss this item? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grove. Item 26, resolution accepting the quote of Andrew Beaudoin Building Contractor in the amount of $7,500 for contractor services related to the demolition of condemned structure located at 158 East 48th Street, Cutoff, Louisiana, 70345, assessment number 0102414700, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said contract and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilwoman Chesson for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Adams. Anyone like to discuss? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 27, resolution accepting the quote of Andrew Beaudoin Building Contractor in the amount of $5,500 for contractor services related to the demolition of condemned structure located at 122 West 116th Street, Cutoff, Louisiana, 70345, assessment number 0101844000, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said contract and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Lorraine for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Councilman Wendell. Anyone like to discuss? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 28, resolution accepting the low bid of Sea Level Construction Incorporated in the amount of $177,000, there being $1,770,000 for the project titled Cpr and Drainage Pump Station Improvements, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Wendell for the administration. Can I get a second? By Mr. Adams. Any discussion? Mr. Lorraine?
Yeah, this pump station has been a nightmare. It has been started prior to now in the previous administration. If I could think it started in Charlotte's administration. Excuse me. You're putting 3 new engines and 3 new pumps? Are you going to a tier 4?
Anyone wants to answer that from the administration? Mr. Chesson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No,
Huh?
no. They're all tier 3s.
Well, every pump station in the parish is important, but this one is real important because all the water from Thibodeau and St. Charles heads that way, and the water from the intercoastal comes that way. But, so you're spending $1,700,000 more than what was spent before? Now, I know there was a lot of errors on this, and it's hard to point the finger at certain people, but I'm going to point them at everybody that was involved with this, even the project manager, whoever he was. It doesn't make sense. These motors, I guarantee you these motors don't have 100 hours on there. And all you had was nothing but trouble. So now you're going to get a new engineer, which is fine. Maybe that might be the best thing. But you're still going to have the same contractor. Not saying nothing about the contractor because he does a lot of work throughout the whole parish. But you're making a change on the engineer, but you're going back with the same contractor. He's got the bid by very, very little. But I just think the whole thing was screwed up. Not pointing the finger at anybody in particular, but we're paying for 2 pump stations to get 1. That's sad on the taxpayers. Not blaming it on Archie. He just got here. But to these brand new pumps that was hardly ever been used.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can.
So, yeah, go ahead.
So we're not going to completely abandon them, right? There's the engines have a purpose. The reason we bought new engines is because when we put the current engines on a dyno, we just didn't think it would have enough horsepower to interact with the new pumps in the right way. So there was no point in putting an engine we knew with probably 85% probability it was not going to work back on a pump station. Same thing with the pumps. And I think I said this at a previous meeting.
did.
I would love to have taken these pumps apart for the 3rd time and put them back in, but nobody could tell us with 100% certainty that if we did all of this work and spent $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, that the pumps would actually work again. So instead of wasting, and to your point, instead of wasting even more taxpayer money,
Right.
instead of trying to half-ass it, we're going to do it the right way.
But what I'm saying, Archie, those pumps are going to be used somewhere else?
Yeah. The engines for sure, I don't think that we've had a whole lot of conversation about what we do with the pumps, if we can use them anywhere else. If we can, I know Councilman Melvin, we've had some discussions about a pump station at back of Bayou Vista, if we can make them work there. We've talked to Jim about if there's an area we can use one of them in Bayou Blue. So I think the engines themselves are gonna be reused somewhere. The pumps, I think we need to have some more discussion.
Well, if you listen tonight, the fella that was here, bro, needs a pump. There you go, you get one of those. You got 3 of them. Make him happy at least.
And look, to your point about the contract, Mr. Lorraine, I will tell you, when the last administration spec'd out the pumps in the engine, there was one email between a private citizen, a public works director, that spec'd out these pumps. There were 135 emails between Dylan, Mitch, me, the engineer, to spec out this pump and these engines. You have a different engineer, you have the number 2 man within sea-level construction that we did not have before. You have a full-time project rep with this engineering that we did not have before. You have a full-time parish employee, which you didn't have before. So when we talk about how we don't make this stuff happen again, it's putting the right people in place to make sure that we don't have the boo-boos that we had the last time.
Understand, you can have all these people, but they're not working for nothing.
No doubt,
You gotta pay for it.
no doubt.
So that was just my concern. It was just a nightmare. The whole thing was a nightmare.
A lot of sleepless nights, I'm with you.
And
We agree.
I'm gonna keep quiet before I get in trouble.
Yeah, so basically, there's nothing new that's been offered in this discussion that we haven't heard over and over and over. Does anyone have anything new to bring up? Mr. Wendell, you have the floor, sir.
I just wanted to clarify that the parish itself is not getting involved in touching any of this until substantial completion by the contractor, the engineer, everything else, correct?
And that's the other difference. The purchasing of the pumps and the engines fall squarely on the back of the contractor now. There is no middleman in this. So there is gonna be no discrepancy of who touched what, when, where, and how, and where warranties lined up.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Mr. Melvin?
Yes, thank you for that, Ms. Lorraine, and for the explanation. And I'm going to support this. I'm a little reluctant, however, just because of what we've been through, and I've been through it since 16, but I know it sits in Mr. Wendell's district, but it drains the majority of mine in that area. So it's been a very concern for me, especially the residents. What I would suggest is moving forward that I've suggested, personally, but I'm just going to say it, is that if in the future we can look at warranty issues for everybody, that I think helps, is to, when we have a pump, to warranty the hours the pump's running, not time. Because if you have a dry year, which we know we've had a lot of rain this year, but if you have some dry years with a new project and those pumps don't get to run a lot unless they're on some auto run, like a generator, then we don't know what we have. So the warranty ends and boom, we stuck with like Chuck, right? So I would suggest that in some of the contracts in the future. And I just wanted to know, what's the price tag total on this up to date, please? That the taxpayers,
Does anyone have that information?
that the taxpayers are paying for it
So the
twice?
original pump station was about 4.5, another 1.7 here. And I will say, and I think I put this in the summary, in the essence of full disclosure, when we pulled the trigger on a lot of this stuff, we were under the emergency declaration from when Tibu had some backwater flooding issues, when you guys had some issues in your districts. So we pulled triggers very quickly. So the pumps and the engines have already actually been ordered. You guys are retroactively kind of approving this. So by the time we pay for the engineering, and the change order that you guys are probably gonna see in the next meeting for the engines themselves, once we get those prices back, you're talking about, we're at 1.7 now, you're probably talking about 2.2. So 4, 5, 6, 6.5.
Okay, so, and what's the estimated timeline to have this part complete, like to have it running again?
So the lead time on the pumps, and Dylan, correct me, 26 weeks.
Okay,
So that you're gonna see some work going, they have to add some structural members, cause we're gonna take some of that vibration we have talked about. We're gonna add some structural beams, and Laura, John, correct me if I'm wrong on this too. We're gonna add some pieces, you're gonna see that construction going on now. And that way when the pumps and the engines get here, we're just dropping them in place, aligning everything.
right, and I appreciate your speed and your team's speed and moving it forward. Is there any chance we can have it blessed? And I'm not joking.
No, I'm
because,
not either.
We need to bust some champagne on it, and like we do a boat.
I was gonna sacrifice Robbie on the deck, but they told me that wasn't a good idea.
Mr. Jones?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I know we, in 2016, 2012 to 16, we had a plan. 2016, the new administration came in and changed the plan. They wanted to do more in-house And we spent about $4.5 million. And the pump ran about 4 days. So the taxpayers spent about $1 million for 4 days of 3 new pumps. A lot of that money came out of road sale tax A. How much came out of road sale tax A? Just 3/4 of it. So before those pumps go anywhere else, one of those pumps need to be for Waverly road sale tax A. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Arabi, you had anything you wanted to say? You good?
And I know what he's gonna ask, Terry. I don't know that there is a way to recoup any of this, because it's gonna be hard to Mr. Lorraine's point, to figure out who did what and how.
Finger pointing.
There's not a whole, yeah, it's a lot of finger pointing. Ain't a whole lot of records on this thing, to Zeke's comment when he's been here a couple of times. So it would be tough.
Yeah, and I'll even go on to say, like Mr. Melvin mentioned about warranty, the problem is in the 3 big pump stations I've been part of, that they blame the operator, the pump operator, so you're getting a finger pointing match, makes it difficult. But with that said, let's move this to a vote. Mr. Lorraine, final comment?
It's like insurance. You miss your premium, they want to cut you, but if you file a claim, they don't know where you're at.
Bye.
Just got one quick.
Mr. Adams,
Are there going to be any no trespassing signs on this one?
didn't understand, what was that? Okay, so we're gonna move on to the vote. Item 28, approving the $1.77 million. Any, no further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. For the record, is anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 29, resolution accepting the completion of the project titled Alley-Door Drainage Improvements Project Phase 1 of State Project Number H.009236 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Arabi for the administration, second by Councilwoman Chesson. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? You wanted to discuss this?
Mic's on.
Go ahead. You have the floor.
Mr. President, this is for the discharge pipe that will put on the track, right?
Yes, sir.
Where we stand with the pump station that we're supposed to be building over there?
So we gave All South Engineering the okay to proceed on the phase 2. So they're working with Billy Williamson and those guys at Statewide Flood to get it cranked back up now that we've accepted, or hopefully in a second gonna accept this.
Yeah, because this has been going on for quite a few years also, and we definitely need a pump station in that area back there. And now that we got the discharge pipe through the railroad track, which was a big hassle, but they finally got it, I'd like the city to try to get that pump station operating.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 30, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development and Lafourche Parish government for the project titled LA1 Leeville to Golden Meadow Phase 2 State Project Number H.008145 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Lorraine for the administration, second by Councilwoman Chesson. Would anyone like to discuss this item? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 31, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Rouse's Enterprise for the purpose of providing food assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration. This will be for fiscal year 2020. Second by Councilman Wendell. Would anyone like to discuss this item? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 32, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Rouse's Enterprise for the purpose of providing food assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration. This will be part of CARES Act. Second by Councilman Wendell. Anyone like to discuss item 32? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 33, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action, and Rouse's Enterprise for the purpose of providing food assistance and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration for fiscal year 2021. Second by Councilman Wendell. Would anyone like to discuss item 33? All in favor signify by saying aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 34, resolution accepting the low bid of Expert Technology LLC in the amount of $69,552.46 for the purchase of a camera system to be placed at various locations throughout the parish, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Councilman Adams. Any discussion? Mr. Melvin, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, I was just noticing that it's definitely, you know, some good things for this. I know when the last administration, we passed like $250,000 for cameras and things like that. Well, I never saw them, but the money was there. So I know that I didn't see Lake Buff. I just didn't know if in the future, if we had something for Lake Buff, because look, Lake Buff services a lot of area. My area, Mr. T-Boot, Mr. Wendell, Mr. Araby, it covers a lot of ground, and kind of felt left out, but I mean, can we look at that in the future?
Yeah.
Because I know there's a lot of thefts that occur at Lake Buff.
So this is the original system that Mr. Jones had asked for in the budget last year for Mary and Abbeydale, Abbey and Marydale, I'm sorry. Then we added Layton, Butch Hill, and Lockport, and this is all the kind of ubiquity equipment that we can beam signals back and forth. So it's going to be very easy to add this in. If you guys noticed when Councilman Wendell was reading the supplement or the proposed ordinances, there's a supplemental in the beginning. We didn't know if we were going to do this or the sheriff's office was actually going to do it. That's why we were renaming the project, because we're going to handle it internally. The sheriff's office is going to monitor it for us at no cost. We're just providing all the equipment. But yeah, it should be very simple to add. I think the cameras themselves and a pole would probably run us, you know, $3,000.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wholeheartedly support this you know, item. I just was wondering about Lake Buff, because I mean, stuff happens at Lake Buff. So. But thank y'all.
Thank you for pointing that out, Bo, and I'm sure we all have a list of places we're going to want cameras. So, Mr. Jones.
Yes. When it's approved, Mr. President, how soon can we get the cameras?
Mr. President?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say 60 days just to cover myself, but we're going to try to do it quicker.
Okay.
2 months. Is that good for you, Mr. Jones?
That's great.
Say 30 days. All right. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 35, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Lafourche Parish Drainage District Number 1 for the Central Lafourche Drive Phase 2 project, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Araby for the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion on item 35? There being none, go ahead, Mr. Lorraine.
Drainage District 1 is contributing $50,000. Would this be considered landscape covers?
Can't by law. Anyone wants to try even answer that?
As with all drainage projects, Mr. Lorraine, as you should probably well know, we replace what's existing. If there's a culvert in the ditch, we put a culvert back. If it's an open ditch, we leave it an open ditch.
That's not really what I saw. A blind man can see that this is landscape covers.
If a culvert is there, we're replacing the culvert. If it's an open ditch, we're leaving it an open ditch, just like we did on the first phase.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Have you seen the plans, Mr. Lorraine?
I'm gonna support it. I'm gonna support it. But if you're gonna put landscape covers in certain districts, you need to put it in all districts. That's just my opinion.
Okay, Mr. Araby.
Mr. Lorraine, I'm very glad that you're concerned about landscape culverts. You have never done it in your area, right?
No, West 217 and East 176.
You have never done any landscape culverts in your area?
I just told you.
I'm talking about over the years, Mr. Daniel.
Oh.
You don't want to talk about that, right? But anyway, what are you talking about right here, gentlemen? This project is going to be changing out culverts. You can qualify it as landscape culverts or whatever, but we are going to a bigger size culvert. And that's why we have to change all the pipe out. improve the drainage with a bigger size culvert.
Mr. Lorraine?
You see what you're saying and what he's saying is two different things.
I'm telling you what's going on with the contract.
You know, we keep, it seems like when landscape covers comes up, only certain areas get it. And that's all I'm saying. You know, if you're gonna do it for one, do it for all.
You forgot I work for
And
the...
I'm gonna support your project.
That's fine, but, yeah, but then you must have forgot I worked for the parish for 37 years.
Well, I've been here 38 years.
In your area, too.
Yeah, a lot of things were done in my area. Plenty. 38 years of service, sure.
Any further
Thank you for the
discussion?
compliment.
Any further discussion on item 35? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. For the record, is anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 36, resolution approving the recommendation from the Lafourche Parish Community Action Advisory Board to appoint Amanda Mattis for the position of Community Action Executive Director and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Councilman Adams. Any discussion? Mr. Adams.
Is she here tonight? Yeah. Oh, okay, that was you. All right, that's cool.
Mr. Lorraine.
This is the one that's gonna replace the one that's gone?
Yes, sir.
Good enough for me.
Unanimously approved by the Community Action Board as well.
Thank you, Mr. President. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow.
Right.
Would you like to say anything? Would you like to address the council, Ms. Amanda? Or are you good? You're not being forced to. Don't listen to these guys.
Earl listening.
If you don't mind, just state your name and address for the record so we can pick it up on the minutes.
Sure. My name's Amanda Matisse, address 1449 Highway 304, Lot 2, Thibodaux, Louisiana. I appreciate the appointment, and I look very forward to turning in community action to what it should be and where it should be, and working with Mr. Jones and the rest of that advisory board in a positive way, so that way we can get this going and get these services out into the community. I have some new ideas that I would like to push out into the communities, and so I hope we can all work together and get it done. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Amanda.
y'all.
Appreciate it. Okay, item 37, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish government and the city of Thibodaux, with the city receiving 16.35% of the parish transportation revenue program, with funding paid directly to Lafourche Parish government from the Louisiana Department of Treasury for the state of Louisiana's 2021-2022 fiscal year, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Melvin on Grove's behalf for the administration, second by Councilwoman Chesson. Any discussion on item 37? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grove. Item 38, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish government and the town of Golden Meadow, with the town receiving 2.5% of the parish transportation revenue program, with funding paid directly to Lafourche Parish government from the Louisiana Department of Treasury for the state of Louisiana's 2021-2022 fiscal year, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Lorraine for the administration, second by Councilwoman Chesson. Any discussion? Mr. Lorraine.
I just want to ask a question. Do you know if this is distributed by population?
Mr. Chesson, you want to answer that?
It's population and miles of road within the municipality.
Because, you know, you get 16.35 to Thibodaux, which I know they're a lot larger than Golden Meadow and Lockport, but Lockport and Golden Meadow are about the same size, and you got 2.5 and then 3% for Lockport. So I was just wondering. I just figured it would probably be some type of population. It has to be, to have that much of a difference. At one time, they used to get that direct, and now it comes to the parish, and then you distribute it to them.
Yep.
Okay, man, thanks.
Any further discussion? Mr. Adams.
They got more roads in Thibodaux.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grove. Item 39, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between Lafourche Parish government and the town of Lockport, with the town receiving 3% of the parish transportation revenue program, with funding paid directly to Lafourche Parish government from the Louisiana Department of Treasury for the state of Louisiana's 2021-2022 fiscal year, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Lorraine will move on behalf of the administration. Can I get a second? Second by Councilwoman Chesson. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 40, resolution appointing 1 member to the Lafourche Parish Communications District Board. Mr. Melvin, you will move on Mr. Grow's behalf of the administration. Who you got?
I have Mr. George Lede Jr.
Can I have a second for Mr. Lede? Second by Mr. Adams. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absent being Councilman Grow. Item 41, resolution reappointing 1 member to the Fire Protection District Number 1 Board. Mr. Melvin for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Melvin?
Mr. Conrad Harlan.
Mr. Conrad, got a second by Mr. Adams. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 42, resolution appointing 1 member to Lafourche Parish Water District Number 1 Board. Ms. Chesson for the administration. Who do you have, Ms. Chesson?
We have 3 applicants, Mr. Dirk Barrios, Mr. Dean Savoy, and Mr. Andrew Galliano. And I'm going to appoint Dirk Barrios.
Mr. Dirk Barrios, second by Councilman Lorraine. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 43, resolution reappointing 1 member on the Fire Protection District Number 8C Board. Mr. Adams for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Adams?
William, oh, never mind, wrong name. Adley Peltier. I was reading the
Mr.
highlight.
Pelche, can I get a second by Mr. Jones? Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item 44, resolution accepting a proposal from GEC Incorporated for consulting services for the project titled FEMA Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities BRIC Program Application Support Services, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer an agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Wendell for the administration, second by Councilman Adams. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grow. Item K, parish president, department heads, directors, or managers' reports, presentations, and or updates. Item 45, Department of Public Works representative to present a report. Mr. Dillon, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. All right, we'll get started with the July 2021 presentation. District 1, Renee Drive outfall, swept outfall. West Camellia, swept roadside ditches. District 2, Highway 20 lateral, swept lateral. Cascade lateral, swept lateral. Choctaw Road, installed driveway culvert. Choctaw Road, swept roadside ditches. Sugar Ridge subdivision, cut grass. District 3, Richland Drive, replace street signs. 12 Cedars, temporarily repaired broken panel. Also in 12 Cedars, cut damaged culvert. District 4, South Water Plant Road, cut grass. Baja Trail, cut grass. Garden Circle, swept roadside ditches. Garden Drive, clean culverts. Eggs Bypass Road, clean drainage ditch. District 5, Aslan Street, swept roadside ditches. Treasure Drive, remove trees from ditch bank at the end of the street. Also on Treasure Drive, swept roadside ditches. Bayou Blue Bypass Road, cut grass. Bobcat Lane levee, cut grass. Cypress Street, swept roadside ditches. Mitchell Road, repaired large pothole. Terre Haute Place, repaired cross culvert. Hidden Acres Street, swept roadside ditches. District 6, Danoff Street outfall, swept outfall. Minge outfall, swept outfall. District 7, Green Acres, remove tree debris from roadside ditch.
Yeah, so
There you go.
I'd like for everybody to look at that and the public to understand where there's a ditch supposedly right here. And that's a whole block, and then the two cross streets both were filled, everything, there was nothing on the road, nothing in the yard, everything is in the ditch.
That was from, storm?
No, just cut a couple of oaks. This is the challenges, that we face on weekends and people flooding.
Yeah, Chairman Olten brought this to my attention, and we don't show this enough. A lot of our drainage issues are self-inflicted, this being one of them. So a lot of times we get complaints from residents, man, I submitted a work request, I haven't seen you in 6 weeks. Well, when we chase around stuff like this, constantly chasing our tail, having to remove stuff that people did on the weekend, this is where we end up. So if we haven't come to you in the past 6, 8 weeks and you're waiting on us, it's because we're often fighting stuff like this.
Mr. Lafourche, I got a question for that.
Yes, sir.
Because I had that problem when it had that last storm. What can we do about that?
So, there's been a lot of discussion about that. What kind of action can we take on these people? But the main fact is it's often raining. When we know about it, it's a Saturday, a Sunday, it's raining, it's a problem. We have to go get it out of the ditch. So by the time we, our object is to keep everybody dry, right? We love to take civil action or have a conversation with the residents on this, but at the end of the day, we have to keep the rest of the residents dry. And it's not their fault they didn't do this, right? So if we're protecting 100 houses by hurrying and get this out of the ditch, that's what we have to do on our end. I think we can have some discussions in the future on what can be done.
Yeah, because next time I see them, we'll take pictures and I send it to you.
Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. Our main objective is just to keep everybody dry. Moving along, Gus Savoy Avenue, cut grass. Lockport Recreation Center, swept drainage ditch. Louis Street, sprayed drainage ditch. Par Pump Station, clean trash rake. Ranchland Trace outfall, swept outfall. South Main Street outfall, shred trees. T-Bois Pump Station, clean trash rake. Virginia Street, cut bushes and grass. District 8, East 7th Street, cut grass. Paul Dufresne outfall, shred trees. District 9, East 85th Street, installed driveway culvert. East 144th Street at Highway 308, swept roadside ditches. East 144th Street, replaced collapsed driveway culvert. Rooster outfall, swept outfall. West 137th Street, replaced collapsed driveway culvert. West 151st Street at Highway 3235, trim trees. West 183rd and West 184th Street, replace street sign. That is it. Any questions?
Anyone got any questions? Mr. Adams, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, sir? I seen that we had some roads and fixes. I had a nice young lady call me. Well, she tried to call me, but my phone was misplaced on Warehouse Road, Warehouse Street. It's off of Greenwood Plantation. It's kind of bumpy and getting bad. Is there anything we can do to help out?
Yes, sir. I had a work order come across my desk today for that. We are looking to see what the right-of-way are and how much length we have on that street to maintain.
Okay,
As
cool.
soon as we verify that, we will maintain it.
All right, and also, I seen the trees. It just reminded me on Sanchez Road, where the boat launch is, there's some trees kind of hanging over. I didn't get a chance to write a work order on that one yet, but I just want to bring it to your attention. Some willow trees, kind of the same thing. So when you coming from Choctaw itself, it's hard to see, so can we get somebody to kind of trim those down?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Adams, and thank you, Dylan. Mr. Araby.
Mr. Dillon, can you give me a update on the Gadget Canal, where we at with that?
We've had a few discussions. I'm in contact with the maintenance contractor now. Just because of the right-of-way and the small amount of area we have, I think we're gonna have to clean it from the inside of the canal, which would require a marsh buggy or something, and especially with all the rain we've been getting. So, no definite answers as of yet, but I think that's something that we're gonna have to get a maintenance contractor involved to come in and clean it.
Okay, that's a major drainage canal for that area right there that goes to the Barra, and we're having all kind of issues with some flooding in that area right now. So.
And from the looks of it, it hasn't been maintained in probably 30 years.
It was cut a few years back by the trustees. They went in there and cleaned it all out. Next question I got, where are we at with the oak tree on 182? You asked me to talk to the landowner. I spoke to him several times already, and now I'm waiting on y'all.
Yeah, so I will follow up with Chris Rogers with DOTD and see where he stands with it. That is something in the state right away, and I'm sure that we aren't willing to spend funds in the state right away to cut a tree down.
Also, when the tree is removed, who is gonna cut the root out the culvert? The contractor that cuts the tree, or?
We're gonna rip the whole culvert out.
We got to rip it out, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Aaron. Mr. Melvin?
Yes, real quick, and this is just for President Archie as well. I know that Percy Brown, which is Highway 648 at Highway 1, they were doing a little grass cutting today, so I have to look. But I know that new assisted living home, which, hey, you never know what the future holds when maybe residents there. My point is, it's a state's job to clean along state highways. And I know a couple years back, I'm sorry, but I mean, I had to get out there and cut myself because the grass was taller than Archie, literally, and cars could not see. Whereas now, they cut a little bit, but they didn't cut along Highway 1. So I'm like scratching my head going, that's the place you need to cut the most. So I might write a resolution to send to this particular department to see, you know, why they're not maybe doing their jobs on a major intersection with red lights.
I can tell you, we met with the secretary a couple of weeks ago, and that barn in Raceland calls for 12 individuals. They only have 7.
Okay.
And they've been trying to hire 5, and just like every other company that can't hire people, can't find people to apply,
Okay.
that's where they're at. So they're short-staffed. That's what he told us, right?
That's great.
That helps. Also, in regard to Bayou Vista, and look, I'm thrilled. I hope Cpr goes off without a bang this time, and I just know it's helping people, landowners in their pastures, and they've been holding a lot of water for the parish, and it needs to, you know, we don't want to make the parish a wetland, I get it. I know Bayou Vista, we're talking homes, not pastures, and it's pretty bad, so I'd like to follow up with you, Archie, on that one as well, and I just appreciate what y'all doing, so thank you.
Mr. Wendell?
Has the shredding machine been put back together from Raceland? And,
It has been put back together. That we've actually been pulling our portable pumps to install a contractor's portable pumps at Cpr and Pump Station, and that is one of our bigger units, so it's being used as an excavator now, not as a shredder.
Okay.
But as soon as that's completed, we will put the shredder back on it, and I think we left off on Hudson Lane and gonna
Hudson
go
and
back there.
652.
Yes, sir.
I also sent a work order in today for Hudson as well.
I saw that. Yes, sir.
But I think our digging and tree removal process would resolve that issue as well in the meantime. I spent a couple hours yesterday on a golf cart on the bypass road, and I know we're waiting on some engineering and doing some stuff for that Bobcat pump station. But the one that's on the bypass itself, I actually think that's in Bo's area. I'm not quite sure right where that line is. Can we revisit the culverts that need to go in for
Yes,
that
sir.
road? I get a call about every 2 weeks from the lady, and I went out there yesterday, and we spent quite a bit of time, and I understand the pump station work is gonna take a little doing to manage, but
That's right.
if we could drop those culverts to prevent that road, because now the shoulder is
It's
to the
moving.
road and cutting under, so.
And that's to the Bobcat pump station. We ordered all the materials today, so that one's starting to move.
I went out
along.
there yesterday and saw the condition, and, you know, what you were referring to with the pilings or the things, and it's definitely a job, so I understand the engineering going behind that, but the other one is the one that we're having trouble with the road, so I appreciate it.
Yes.
The only question I have, Dylan, so 67 months I've been asking, I will ask again, LaRue's flood wall update.
So as far as phase 3 on the Rose Fall Wall for the drainage, we are trying to get in touch with the resident. We actually have made contact. We're trying to get him to agree to a right-of-way. This project would be a lot cheaper and a lot more effective if we have this right-of-way. It's unfortunate that we're this far in the game and still chasing that right-of-way, but in order to provide these residents some type of relief with the $800,000 we're going to get from the federal government, it's the only answer. I'm not sure how else we can do it, so not really a good answer to the question, but we're really fighting for the right of way. I'd love to sit and talk with you if you got time and see if you know the resident or you know somebody who knows a resident. Maybe we can get them on board. Anything we can do to kind of move this along.
I appreciate it. Look, like I said earlier, it's 67 months right-of-way. Hurricane Juan was for over 40 years right-of-way, so it doesn't happen overnight. I really recognize that.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Appreciate it.
I have a few things real quick. So
ahead.
you may have seen a maintenance contractor. We hired a maintenance contractor to do some grass cutting over the last month. They took all of the roadside ditches from Percy Brown to Highway 90. It was very effective with all our tractors being down, having a lot of trouble. The only thing, they were not able to cut all the outfalls. The outfalls were just too wet, and rather than us making ruts and having to go and chase us down and fix it later. I'm sure you're all very aware, but as an average in the parish, we have received anywhere from 52 to 55 inches of rain so far this year, which is absolutely unheard of. And there's a lot of stuff that's hanging on and we can't get to right now. As far as outfalls, just please be patient with us. We're going if we can. But we aren't going to go cut these outfalls and risk losing a tractor that we're already down 4 of them on the parish, or leave 18-inch ruts through somebody's pasture.
I'm glad you said that. So, most outfalls are private property.
That's correct.
We have a right-of-way, a drainage servitude, but we're responsible for damages to them.
Correct.
So when it's wet like this, and I've had some very receptive landowners here as of late that are somewhat impatient, but they understand that machinery will go in there and tear their property up. So it's a double-edged sword, and hopefully the residents understand that. That's why some of the outfalls are falling behind right now. It's sloppy back there.
And you got to figure
Bad.
these boom tractors, 100 horsepower tractors, and they add 1,500 pound counterweights on the back of them just to keep them level. So
And it's
they are not light
impractical
by any
to
means.
mat, because I even got asked, well, can they lay mats down? I mean, that's so impractical from a cost standpoint. And then when you have an outfall every 200 feet throughout the whole parish, because basically every acre is another outfall for another subdivision. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
Yep. So we've been trying to focus on roadside ditches with our excavators that can work on asphalt, and doing the best we can with what we have. But I do apologize if anybody's waiting for an extended period of time to get something done on these outfalls.
Got a follow-up, Mr. Wendell?
Yeah, I asked a question. I didn't give you an attaboy, though. I just want to thank you and the guys at the barn. I religiously or routinely cut grass in my district in probably 4 or 5 places. That's not practical for a tractor, but it still needs to be done because we've discussed that the state's not cutting certain areas. There was one area I couldn't get to because of the configuration, and it was blocking actually 3 subdivisions, and Vaughn and his crew went out there and took care of that hazard. It's in a bad curve. So they're kind of scared to even attempt to cut grass there. And I actually had to go out there in a police car and slow traffic down so that they could actually get to it. But I want to thank those guys for going against their better judgment, but still getting the job done and, helping out those folks. I'm still getting phone calls thanking us for what they did right there in that area.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing the police car out there to help them out and protect them. Appreciate that. I know. I
Good
understand.
deal. Thank you, Mr. Wendell.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. Appreciate it. Archie, do you have anything else you want to bring up right now?
Yeah, you want me to do it now, or you want to wait till you go around the table?
I can go around the table. So that brings us to item L, discussion. Number 46, discussion regarding the drainage, health, and library millage, drainage-1.63, public health -2.69, library -0.95. Mr. Lorraine, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, thank you. We've been talking about this a long time, but we talk about it. And I was thinking about this, and I looked at this, and I says, I'm just going to bring it up for discussion. You're talking about 5.27 mils, parish-wide. Drainage, 1.63. Public health, you can't fool with that because 2.69, that takes care of your health units. But that library, 0.95, we need to seriously look at that and put it to drainage. These people have $11 million in the bank as we speak. They're full of money. So we talk about it, but we never do nothing. But my question is, there's some elections coming in October and November, and I think it's time we need to put this library thing, a vote to the people to see if they would be interested in turning it into drainage. Now, I'm not sure, but I think Mr. Chesson has some plans at the end of the year, but at the end of the year, nothing's going to take effect till the following year. We have an opportunity to do something now to take effect next year. And I'm sure y'all would all agree that the .95 should be transferred to drainage from what I've heard here tonight. And I mean, these people have buku money, and we're struggling. So I'm just asking the administration to look into it, if it could be possible. It has to go to the voters, right? So if it could possibly put on the ballot toward the end of the year, because there's some elections coming in October, November, I think. And if we actually don't do it now, you're going to wait a whole nother year before you can get anything. That's just my opinion. And I'm not really trying to hurt the library. You know, they made a lot of cuts, but they got a lot of money. And they still got some fat cats in there. Go look at it. You'll see what I'm talking about. And I'm just giving a heads up.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. Mr. Wendell.
This is just a general question to whoever may be able to answer it, not specifically to Mr. Lorraine's discussion. This library thing would have to go to the voters at the end of the year. Does anybody know what the deadline is to get anything on that ballot?
Archie, you know?
I don't think you could do it. You might be able to get it on the December ballot if you pushed it through like the first meeting in August. So, look, I will tell you, and I've had some discussions with a few of you. We're supposed to meet with Wendy tomorrow to go through the millages that we've kind of gotten from Dr. Richardson's tax study. So we can say on an average $200,000 home, if we do A, B, and C, this is what it's going to do to your tax bill, depending on, listen good, Daniel, if you're in drainage district number 1, drainage district number 5, we could talk about the library at that point. We're running the sales tax numbers on Road A and Road 2 to talk about consolidations and moving around. So I don't think you're going to be able to get it on that. I don't think you can be able to do it by the end of the year, Daniel. I'm just, realistically, if we're going to do this as a package, I don't want to put the cart before the horse.
No, it's not putting the cart before the horse. All we got to do is a simple phone call to the bonding attorney and find out.
We can find out.
Find out. You can find out tomorrow.
Because when I met with, and I say Renita and Mitch and I met with Jim Ron and Harold Block probably a month and a half ago. And when I asked the question about the April ballot, we're going to be pushing very close to get it on an April ballot by the end of the year. So I'll find out for you. I'll let you know.
Yeah, I know there's a timeline.
There is, yeah.
But if we keep waiting, we'll never meet it. It's something I was thinking about. And I know you looking at it toward the end of the year, but then that puts it back a whole nother year.
I have some things separately. Can you let me know what that timeline is? Because I have some things that came from the litigation earlier and everything that I really need to toss on there as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Wendell. All right.
Yes,
Mr. Jones, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the timeline is late. The bond, if I'm not mistaken, Colleen, has to be wrote by the bonding attorney, has to be proposed and ratified. And we don't have enough time. That thing you'd be talking about August, September. And the election is too late for October or November. So, but.
I'll find out.
Yeah, but that .95, Daniel, since you were discussing that, I was looking at maybe using that for the build a new animal shelter in Lafourche. If we put all South Lafourche, North Lafourche, and the parish drainage fund, we can have a lot of money in drainage, and the poor animals can use that .95. You know?
Well, only thing I can tell you is everybody got their own ideas, and we had 3 pumps, and that 6 people wanted 3 pumps a while ago. If you paid attention.
Yeah.
The 3 pumps was going in a little while, right, Mr. Chairman?
Right. You're
So
absolutely
this could
right.
be
but
going in,
Six
you know?
people wanted the pump, but 3 of them is in 4 people district.
I'll say, I like the way you think though, Mr. Jones. Compared to others, our animal shelter is lacking. Okay, you got anything else on the?
I'd like to see an animal shelter like they have, when you go to Boomtown. Used to be a little golf thing and they converted that, and I'm sure there must have been some state and federal fundings on that one. So maybe we can all look into that.
Yep. Okay, that brings us to just final discussions, as I have been doing for a while now. I'll go ahead and round the table if you got any final thoughts, Mr. Lorraine.
Yes, I got a question for Mr. Chesson. We are having problems, and I'm pretty sure DOTD governs this, with helicopters. They're flying too low. Now, if they fly high, it's okay. If they fly low, let me tell you what, your house shakes. But if they're high, it's okay. But, you know, there was always an agreement where they were supposed to go around the houses, and I'm gonna tell you right now, they fly 24 hours a day. Where I live, I'm right in the path of the takeoff and all this stuff and landing. All these planes that fly right over my house, which that's okay. But we need to get a hold of DOTD and ask them to get, usually when you bring it to their attention, they'll follow it for a while and then they'll go back into the rut. So, you know, a lot of people complaining, and my wife's complaining and she don't usually complain. And quite a few other people are complaining. And, but I can tell you this is not the first time this has happened. When we bring it to their attention, they usually obey, but then they go back. You kind of got to get on them every now and then, I would assume. And that's, see, I know it's DOTD that governs the helicopters down the bay.
So first of all, I'm glad to know the money I'm paying those helicopters to buzz your house is actually working.
Wait, I didn't quite get that. I'm hard of hearing.
I said I'm glad to know the money I'm paying the helicopters to buzz your house is working.
Oh, I figured that. I figured you had something to do with that.
I'll get with Chet. So I'm not. It's going to be DOTD's aviation section plus the FAA. So we'll buzz. I'll put Mitch on that. He knows some guys up there, and we'll work with Chet to see if we can control a little bit.
Yeah, because I remember when we had the public hearings for the heliport on 3235. I remember DOTD was there and he said he was going to make the final decision, whether they'd have it or not, whatever. And there were some rules and regulations, but they kind of get away from it. And believe it or not, that's all I got.
Good, Ms. Chesson. Mr. Araby. Yeah, Mike Terra.
2 questions for the parish president, Mr. Chesson. Can you give me an update, Mr. Chesson, on the rodeo arena? Where we at with that? Because we met a few months back and I never heard any more on it.
So we met with Skipper right before July 4th to look at rerouting it to a metal building like we had talked about with the rodeo guys. We also have him look at taking off the restroom facility and leaving the building itself as he designed it, and then going with the restrooms like we use that you had found for Bayou Buff, those container restrooms. So I'll get John to follow up with him tomorrow and we'll get you a hard answer, kind of what his timeline is from here on out.
Also, how are we progressing with the coroner's office? That's another project.
Yep, so we met with them right before July 4th as well with Dr. King, Danielle, and Kayla. We went through their final wish list. His time frame to having a project going out to bid was late August, early September.
I'm good.
Very good. Mr. Melvin.
Yes, I just heard a quote this week that kind of rang a bell in my head, and I just wanted to read it. It just says, quote, "We're paying people who don't work to stay home, and we're taxing people who go to work."
Mr. Wendell. Mr. Adams.
I got a few questions. Okay, for one, my park in Chagbay, how's that coming along?
So we hired Jure Jambon Jarreau to do some legal work. There's probably 37 different heirs to the piece of property next to the park that we've been talking about. She's given us some legal guidance of how to make that happen, where we can kind of almost participate in a succession to be able to buy the property. That was, I don't know, probably 2 months ago. She was meeting and talking with one of the grandchildren who was out in California, who's an attorney, who was kind of like the spokesperson for the family. So we're getting close.
All right, can you give me some information on that when you get a chance? Number 2, my bathroom by your buff. When we opening that, when I'm getting my little ramping.
What was the, Mitch, I'm gonna look at you for this one, because I wasn't fought. What's the latest with the ramp?
It's Portland. They didn't have a ramp to it.
Well, I followed up last week with Mr. Tommy Boudreau, and they were ordering the extension.
Okay, cool. Engineer and endowments for the lifting of the road and fixing that drainage issue.
So we have contacted an engineer. We are waiting on their recommendation and their quote.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jones?
Yes, there's nothing I really have, but just these employees, they left. But, you know, I really can see that losing their friend, it really got to them. And hopefully I can see this administration take on the task of doing the safety meeting, the CPR and Aed training. And I'm putting that in Brother Mitch's hands. So hopefully we can say that this year, Mitch.
So I'm gonna do you one better, Mr. Jones. So about 3 weeks ago, I guess, all the 3 main complexes and all the field office now have AEDs and first aid cabinets that are installed. All of our employees are, all of them that could make, I think we have a makeup class coming up, but all of them have been AED certified and CPR certified. So when you lose somebody, it's always tough, but sometimes there's some good out of it. Kicked us in the butt and made us realize what we needed to do, and we got it done already.
That's great. Yeah, I was at, they had notified me and let me know, so that's great. Thank you. Mr. President?
All right, got a couple of things. One, Jim and Daniel, our registrar of voters, Michael Boudreau, Johnny on the spot texted me. To have it on the December ballot, we'd have to have it by 9/20. I don't think there's a way to pull it off, September 20th. So, but we'll look at it, see what we can do. I talked to, speaking of bonds, to Jim Ryan on Friday. They sold the bonds for the 2 road sales tax districts. We got 1.28 and 1.32% respectively on the bonds, which is a hell of a rate. And because there is no debt service fund hold requirement on these bonds, because of the way they worked the deal, we scored another $880,000 that we got to do projects and stuff with. So that was a good day for us. Councilwoman Chesson and I talked about this, I think yesterday. We're going to have a meeting with the residents of Providence Avenue to talk about some of their drainage issues on Monday the 19th at 6:30 at the Cutoff Youth Center. So you know, Mr. Chairman, we reached out after the meeting with Secretary Wilson, and we're working with the DOTD right-of-way coordinator for the spot next to the fire station on 182, as well as the spot for Chief Parks and Bayou Blue to expand the fire station under Highway 90 and 316. They needed an official letter from us telling them what we were gonna do and where we were gonna put it. I got that back to them this afternoon. So they're gonna start working on those joint use agreements, so we can have those properties as staging areas, and then have enough room for the fire station. Speaking of the animal shelter, you guys remember we hired Duplantis Design Group a few months ago. We have a meeting with them tomorrow morning to go through their design, see what they have so far. We've put up about $500,000 so far. We're thinking it's gonna be closer to 800. So probably you're gonna see some more funding come out in next year's budget where we can start and kind of overlap the years. But we're gonna tear down that old wooden structure in the front and build a brand new animal shelter for Hillary and her group. And Daniel was talking before the meeting. There was an article in the comment about the governor signed HB2, which is a capital outlay bill. So for those of you who didn't know, Lafourche Parish scored $9.1 million in P5, so that'll get to us in construction money next year for the new Butch Hill pump station. So we'll be working, our 25% will come out of our budget very early in the near future. Probably you'll see it in a supplemental. I think it might have been on the one that was proposed tonight, to move some money around for our 25% so we can have the engineering complete by the time the legislative session starts next year, so we can get that money. We got about $9.7 million in state funding for the airport access corridor, which was the state share. We also got $17 million for the new Nichols Coastal Center on the campus of Nichols State University. They got a host of other money for athletics and some other buildings, but that coastal center is very important to what we're going to be doing here to restore our coast. I talked to Congressman Scalise today. He secured about $19 million for some additional funding for Morganza. There was about $12.3 million awarded a couple of months ago. Congressman Graves was able to get us put in as a new start, which hadn't been done in several decades, I think, with the Corps of Engineers. So some good stuff coming there. And I see Mr. Wayne Bruce in the back. We acknowledge some of his employees, but I tell you a little bit of a funny story. Most of the time, things fall through the cracks, right, Daniel? Government gets accused of being slow. A couple of weeks ago, we had a nuisance abatement case. A lady called and said, look, we're having trouble seeing coming out of the highway at an old gas station down the Bahia. Talked to solid waste. They said, well, look, it's been adjudicated to the parish. So I picked up the phone and I called Wayne and I said, look, doesn't have to be today, but when you get some time, go cut the grass so people can see coming out the streets. Apparently it's our property. About 45 minutes later, Bob comes back from solid waste and says, something didn't look right, so we called the assessor's office. We really don't own it. They redeemed the property like a month or two before. So before I could even call Wayne's guys had already gone out there and done it. So we got a call from the property owner the next day, pretty mad because we cut her grass. And all I could say was, ma'am, I'm sorry, for once your government actually moved fast instead of slow. So Wayne, all our field office supervisors do a great job, and we appreciate all the hard work. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. First and foremost, I just want to thank everyone for their thoughts and prayers for the passing of Rockin' Uncle Pot Falls at the age of 96. He was obviously a Lafourche entertaining icon. Brought lots of people from outside our parish into Lafourche Parish with his recording studio and his family. And now there's one left in the family, Aunt Zifa, who's actually an older sister of his. And I'm sure she's watching because she pays attention. And she pays attention to these council meetings. So I also want to recognize and thank, I think it's Vesna. I'm not sure if she says her first name. Vesna Dyes and Henry Concy and Mike Glassbell. And I mention those names because they're the ones that have been really advocating for the Lockport elevated boardwalk. Some of you may not have seen but Dave McNamara's been out there. There's people from the last few times from Lafayette, from Plaquemines Parish, just with their big cameras. And so it's really gotten a heck of a lot of attention. It's because of those three wildlife photographers. At that Lockport boardwalk, they have taken pictures of bobcats on the boardwalk, of deer, of otters, hummingbirds, alligators, turtles. So it's just been an unbelievable action going on there. They even have the Louisiana Iris Conservation Group that comes down with some people out in New Orleans, and they actually have been planting native species in the boardwalk. So it's a pretty amazing thing going on there. And I'll tell you this, there was actually, we've been seeing more and more RVs pull in back there and try to turn around and go and check it out. So it's really getting a lot of attention. I also want to thank Terry and the president and Dylan and all, because we did get to meet with DOTD Secretary Wilson. He was receptive to our requests. He's got a lot of things, as we do, in terms of having his hands tied, but hopefully we'll see a few projects moving along. And also had the opportunity to meet with Senator Fessy at the Community Center for one of the town hall meetings. Very, very poorly attended. Matter of fact, I think it was 4 of us in the building, which was good for me because we got a lot, one-on-one time, and I did explain to him what was going on with DOTD. Last thing I want to say is that I want to wish well to Lafourche Parish resident Danny Maillet, who is the president of the Louisiana State Farmers Association. Louisiana State Farmers Association. He will be hosting his convention next week. So I wish him well. I hope things go great for him. Good job, and thank you for representing Lafourche Parish well. With that said, I got a motion on the floor for adjournment by Mr. Araby, second by Mr. Melvin. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Grove. With that said, the meeting is closed at 1843 hours, 6:43 p.m., Ms. Carlene.